stop me. And you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change.
Unbelievable start to this fight.
Able to a good job.
Vicious right hand. And the referee has already stopped the fight. Mamma mia! Matisse. Oh, and fires off the right hand. Jose goes down. Mora has stopped the fight. Lucas Matisse has won. Oh, they're and he knocks him down in the clutch with a beautiful right uppercut. Wow!
I'm in control.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for an immediate reaction to what it is we just witnessed between Vasyl Lomachenko versus Miguel Marriaga, live on ESPN. And this fight, I guess you could say everybody knew exactly who was going to win. Even I picked Lomachenko to win this fight. But the thing is, you have to respect the other side. That's just point blank period. I mean, I respect all fighters. Of course, I'm not just going to come out and say this fighter is going to win in particular because I know for sure this fighter is going to win, but I'm going to give the other side an opportunity. And that's just what we do here at Jeremy Sports Network. And so, talking about this fight, well, for one, I must say this. The fact that ESPN, I really don't know how to take this. But the commentary for ESPN, if you ask me, it sucks. Given the fact that some of the things that they say, a la Teddy Atlas, and how he is on air, it really rubs me the wrong way. Now, given the fact we all know Vasyl Lomachenko is a good fighter, he put his skills on display again tonight. He was phenomenal. He was great. But one thing, if you ask me, who has you done it against? Who have you really been great against? You have to take out the Gary Russell Jr. fight. You have to take out the Nicholas Walters fight only because Nicholas Walters was coming off a long layoff when he fought Lomachenko. He didn't take a fight to prepare to get himself back in rhythm. He came in with a lot of ring rust, and Lomachenko took advantage of that. And this same guy in Lomachenko, who is really good, don't get me wrong, really, really good. He lost to Orlando Salido, and people feel as though he don't have to avenge that loss because he won a title. Are you serious? And then the fact that you want to bring up Orlando Salido didn't want to take the $750,000 pay in order to fight a Lomachenko. I mean, it's something that's there that we're really not having the answers to when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, this was a perfect opportunity for Lomachenko, who won his fight against Miguel Marriaga in the 7th round after knocking him down twice. The last time in the remaining seconds of the 7th round, his corner did stop the fight. But if you're Lomachenko, this was a perfect time for you to call out that guy and Mikey Garcia. Perfect opportunity to call out Mikey. Perfect opportunity, not even to just call out Mikey, but it was a perfect opportunity for him to call out Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux was on Twitter and just sitting there, you know, we going through the live chat. We are chatting about the fight. And Rigondeaux is just like, there's no reason anybody should be booing Miguel Marriaga. Marriaga. You should be booing Lomachenko because of the fighter that he chose in order to take this fight, when he could have chose a better opponent within myself. And that's just being honest. He could have chose to fight a guy in Guillermo Rigondeaux. But you fought Marriaga, who we all know Marriaga. We thought it was going to average the 78 punches in a round, but all night he was fighting on his back foot. And you can tell that Lomachenko, once he had the advantage and felt the power and knew that Marriaga did not pose a threat to him, he just carried him on, up into the 7th round where he got the stoppage. But we want to see you against better opponents. I can't deem Lomachenko as number 1 pound for pound when he hasn't fought anybody. You still haven't fought a guy at 140 in Terrence Crawford. You still haven't fought Mikey Garcia, who just called you out. And that's sad, because this was a perfect opportunity for him to call out Mikey or to call out Rigondeaux. You on top of the world right now, and you call out nobody. You just say you ready to fight anybody. That's a default move if you're Lomachenko. That means that opens the door for you to take on another weak opponent. And that's just how I see it. We know what happened when you met with Mikey Garcia. We saw Mikey pull up on you in the middle of your press conference. But you don't want to call him out? You don't want to say anything to Mikey Garcia? Is it because you're afraid? Is it because you were talking about him being a bigger opponent when Mikey can make weight at 135? You're only moving up a few pounds to meet him at 135. Mikey put on weight to fight a big fight in Adrian Broner. Is Mikey going to be the A side when you two fight? Absolutely. Absolutely. He's 37-0. Lomachenko has not done nothing in the game to put him as pound for pound besides tying the record for winning a title with the shortest amount of fights. That's it. Thank you, Brenda, for tuning in. Brenda says it's too short and too soon for him to fight anyone with a big name. He's not willing to take that risk. But you know what? I'm not going to say that it's too soon, because now they're deeming you pound for pound the number 1 fighter in the world. So when will you fight a big name? You can't be pound for pound fighting tomato cans. And I'm not calling Miguel Marriaga a tomato can, because Marriaga did fight for the title, and he did lose to Oscar Valdez, and we just seen him lose to Lomachenko. But still, outside of that, you fought a Nicholas Walters who came off a layoff, almost a 2-year layoff with ring rust, and you win that fight. You beat Gary Russell Jr. in a really good fight, very close fight. But then you say you started out slow when you lost to Orlando Salido, and you have ESPN and guys like Teddy Atlas basically sitting here saying, oh, he was coming on strong and really could have won that fight. Are you serious? I mean, that was just a hell of a fight by Orlando Salido. It's like you're downing what Salido did, but you want to praise everything that Lomachenko did. I understand Lomachenko is a big draw right now. They're trying to build him up in order to get him that major payday and perhaps another big name. But the thing is, we got to see you against better opponents. Now, after what we seen with him fighting a guy like Miguel Marriaga, he has no choice but to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux, Mikey Garcia, or Terrence Crawford. That's it. After Crawford defeats Ndungu, if Crawford calls out Lomachenko, we got to get the Lomachenko fight. We have to. But I don't think Crawford is too much worried about Lomachenko because Crawford knows that he could win another title by calling out the winner of Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao. But it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Like I said, the division right now has a few names that's brewing that Lomachenko cannot duck any longer. Shout out to Kristen Dunbar who's joined into the chat. If you're watching right now, please like and share the show. It helps with the visibility of the show. And we're talking about Lomachenko putting on a masterful, you could say this was a masterful performance, right? You love the fact that he was in the corner, chiming, telling Miguel to come on, hit me. Because after he knocked Miguel down and he went to the corner and he just stood there and went into defensive mode before the end of the bell, that let me know right then and there, this guy don't stand a chance. He don't stand a chance. There's nothing he can do to take Lomachenko out of the game. In the live chat, I posted right after the 6th round. Because in the 6th round, I said, Lomachenko is setting up traps for Miguel. He's setting up traps. And in the 7th round, the beginning of the 7th round, I said he's going to go for the knockout. You can go and look back on the Twitter feed under Jeremy_sports, and you will see that. And he did exactly that in the 7th round. And for them to stop the fight, which I felt as though Miguel, he stood up, he walked back to the corner. He seemed as if he was straight after the knockdown. But then the corner was just like, no. I don't know if he said he quit or if the corner just stopped the fight because they didn't want him to continue because of the showing he was putting on. That remains to be seen. I'm not sure. We already know stuff is going to come out about that. But in other news, the other fight in Beltran versus Vasquez, that was a pretty good fight. A lot of people say that it wasn't as technically sound as what we saw in this fight from what Lomachenko did. But if you're Beltran, you continue to win so you could get your green card so that you can live in the United States. And I think that's a good thing. And he's doing exactly what it takes in order for himself to continue to be successful. Now, we know that Vasquez was a very, very slick opponent. I honestly didn't believe it was going to go the distance because I felt as though Beltran had the power to either knock a guy like Vasquez out. But Vasquez, him being the type of opponent to switch from southpaw to orthodox to keep the fight very, very technical for Beltran, made it go the distance. But do I feel as though Beltran did exactly what it took in order to get the W? Absolutely. And I gave it to him. I don't see how they had it. I believe one judge had it a draw at 95-95. And then the other two judges had it about, I think it was 95-92, I believe. So they had it kind of as a close fight. But for me, it was almost a unanimous decision for Beltran. Just like it was a unanimous decision tonight for Lomachenko. But what's next? What's next for him? I mean, Brenda, if you're watching, Garcia, if you're watching, tell me who's next for Lomachenko. Who do you feel as though is next for Lomachenko? If you're tuning in, drop down in the chat and tell me who do you feel is the next opponent for Lomachenko? I mean, because he's not giving us a name. He had an opportunity to give us names, but he's not giving us anybody right now. And the fact that you're not giving us anybody right now, what does that say? What does that say? I mean, we know when we had Triple G calling out for Canelo before he was able to get that fight, we knew who he wanted. After every opponent he faced, he called out Canelo. When he faced Daniel Jacobs, we knew the Canelo fight was there. When he faced guys before that, we knew the Canelo fight was there. But with Lomachenko, you think he'll keep milking it? He probably would. He probably would. Only because Bob Arum wants to protect his investment. That's just what it is. That will be the other reason. Bob Arum protecting his investment. Because he knows that if Lomachenko was to lose to Rigondeaux, just think about it. If he was to lose to Rigondeaux right now, if these two was to fight, how devastating that would be for Lomachenko versus a guy like Rigondeaux, where that would take everything that everybody said about him. Because they talk very dirty when it comes to Rigondeaux. He's just as technical, just as quick, just as fast. I mean, his skill set to Lomachenko is arguably the same. But they give Lomachenko the praise instead of giving the praise to a guy like Rigondeaux. They call Rigondeaux boring, but he does the same exact thing as Lomachenko. It's just like when we talk about Mayweather, McGregor. Everything that McGregor does now, Floyd used to do when he was Pretty Boy. But they call Floyd arrogant, cocky, all this, that, and the third. But soon another guy in Conor McGregor who comes on the scene and does the same exact thing, everybody want to praise him. And it's the same thing with Rigondeaux. He's the same fighter as Lomachenko. But nobody is going to say anything if Rigondeaux was to upset Lomachenko. You wouldn't have no choice but to give him the praise. Ms. Garcia says, business-wise, he's an investment in the making. He is. He really is. And I believe he is what Bob Arum, when Bob Arum had Manny Pacquiao, right? Because we know Manny is almost out the door. The Jeff Horn fight, when they set up the rematch, may possibly be Manny's last fight. It could very well be his last fight. And so, who else is going to be that superstar that Bob Arum wants to build up? And you have no choice but to easily say, Lomachenko could be that guy. Lomachenko could really be the next Manny Pacquiao for Bob Arum. He's never going to challenge Bob Arum because Manny never challenged him. They always worked together as a team. Manny never pulled a Mayweather and left top rank. He never pulled a Mikey Garcia and left top rank. Lomachenko is going to stay with HBO. He's going to stay with Bob Arum. And this is his investment. But the thing is, the fans are going to be calling for a big fight for Lomachenko. They are. The pressure is on for Lomachenko because look at the remaining names in the division. There aren't that many. And the biggest stars in the division between them two is he could either move down in weight, or he could have Rigondeaux come up to his weight and they both fight. And then you have a guy, Michael Garcia, who will have to come down to his weight class and fight him. But both fighters are willing to do whatever it takes to make this fight because it's a big fight. He's not going to get a payday, a big payday. He's not, unless he fight one of those two fighters. Garcia says, "You are right, Jeremy. Loma is following the same footsteps that all fighters did, like Mayweather, before they became pretty much who they are now." But she's right. They all are following the blueprint that Mayweather put out there. They all following the blueprint. But the thing is, Floyd took on very tough opponents once he became world champion. Even before he became world champion, he took on very, big time names. And that's what we need to start seeing from Lomachenko. Big time names. Names like who we already called. That's what we need to see. We need to see that. We need that for boxing. We're getting all the other opponents fighting each other, but we need to get Lomachenko fighting a big name. We get it in every other division. So we need to get it in this division. We get it in welterweight with Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Errol Spence. These guys are fighting each other. Al Heyman has all the fighters in his stable, the best versus the best. And we need to see that from Bob Arum, because we can't continue as boxing fans if we want boxing to be back on the map. Like people say, it's not back on the map, but if we want to make noise back into the public eye, we can't put on showings like we just did tonight on ESPN. We just can't do that. In the boxing world, we can't do that. PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, give us great fights. Great fights. I'm not saying Bob Arum has not given us good fights, because we will get that when we have Terrence Crawford versus Julius Ndangu on August the 19th. We're going to get that. We're going to get a really good fight to unify all the titles into the division. Really good fight. Nothing more you can ask for. But when you talk about the best fighting the best, it's about time we start seeing it. One guy who we was talking about, who we could say can do the milking and take his time, is Gervonta Davis. Gervonta don't have to rush anything right now at all, period. And for one, Lomachenko is not a big enough draw to a Gervonta Davis. He's not. Gervonta has already fought in the UK. He's already fought in the UK. He has fans in the UK. And he signed under a banner that does a great job in promotion. And that's Mayweather Promotions. How many people knew Lomachenko before this fight with Miguel Marriaga? Just being serious. Us as hardcore fans, of course we knew Lomachenko. But what about the casuals? What about the casuals? You ask the casuals anything about a Lomachenko and they don't know anything about him. But if you talk about Gervonta Tank Davis, then they be like, oh, the kid that get the knockouts. Oh yeah, that kid, that be with Mayweather. They know him. He's a big enough draw. We could say that Lomachenko's status after tonight has risen, doing it on the scale of being on ESPN. Of course, we could say that. Absolutely. But to the magnitude of where we start talking about Gervonta Davis versus Lomachenko, it's not going to happen. No time soon. Not at all. Even Gervonta said it himself that he's not looking for a fight with Lomachenko. Not at all. That's why when I speak of fighters who Lomachenko can face, I never bring his name up. Because he himself isn't ready for that fight. He could take all the time in the world. Now, once Gervonta start unifying in the division, boy, it's really going to be a draw. But I think if you're Gervonta, you have to worry about who your opponent is on August the 26th. And then after that, if we can get Tevin Former to be all the way healthy at 100%, possibly next year, we get that fight with Tevin Former versus Gervonta Davis. That will be a really good fight. But it remains to be seen. This has been another good night for boxing fans. We was able to see Lomachenko be the Lomachenko, Mr. High Tech, where everybody has been accustomed to seeing if you're a hardcore. Now the casuals has gotten the opportunity to see Lomachenko and what it is he can do, the noise he can make, the skill set, the fundamentals, everything that a boxer needs in order to be successful. We seen it on display tonight from Vasyl Lomachenko. And I am just waiting to see who will be next. This is Jeremy Sports Network. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. If you missed this show and you're listening to the podcast, you can go back and visit this show at Jeremy Sports Network on YouTube, or you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy_sports. You will find the feed for this show in particular. Thank you for all the Patreon supporters. If you want to be a part of the gang, the notification gang, please make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And thank you all for tuning in. This is Jeremy Sports Network. You have a wonderful night. See you all tomorrow. Peace.